Hi everybody, welcome back to Craft with Norma. Today I'm going to show you how I've actually made or assembled the little fabric rag book that I made the other day and have done a flip through of the journal. So what I'm going to do is just show you quite quickly how I put the book together, just to give you some sort of inspiration hopefully. So first thing I did was I'm going to cut out a template 4.5 inches by 4.5 inch square on a piece of craft card. I've done the same on a piece of craft card, but this time it's 3/4 inch crosswise and about 5 or 6 inches. Doesn't really matter about the length as long as it's more than 4.5 inches. A piece of calico, and this piece actually measures 20 inches long by 4.5 inches. Then I've done a piece that's 2 inches by, and as long again it's more than 5 inches because we can trim it off, so we've got that on one side. And then what I've gone and done is 5 pieces of various material. Some of them are rusted, some of them are eco-dyed, and that's 4.25 by 9 inches, and you want 5 of that size. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And then I've just done 2 smaller ones which are 4.25 by 4.25, and one slightly larger which is 5 by 4.5, and they're just for the covers. So that's what we're going to need first, is just to get all your pieces of material cut out. And then we're going to start on the actual base of your book. Now I've already pleated this once just to give it a little bit of, to give me a little bit of help. So the first thing we're going to do is get our ruler, and we're going to measure 6 inches from the edge. Don't see that, if we go a bit closer perhaps. There we go. 6 inches from the edge, and then just mark that off with a pencil, just like that. And then from that pencil mark, I want you to mark it off at 1.5 inches. So from there to there is 1.5 inches. And then we're going to want to do the same again. From that mark there to this mark there, 1.5 inches. And then the same again, 1.5 inches. And then just 2 more times, 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. Now you have got some excess material here which is more than 6 inches, but I'm quite happy for you to leave that as it is. Next we're going to want to make some pleats. Now you can either use your little tiny strip of card that you've done as a little template, or you can just get your pencil line that's there to match that pencil line that's there, just like so, and rub it with your fingers and plait it, just like that. And then you do the same again, pencil mark to pencil mark, and try and keep your material as straight as you can when you're doing this. To be honest, the first time I did it, I actually got my ironing board out and I pressed it, and I found that was easier, but obviously I can't get my ironing board out and stick it on the table, so I'm just going to go along like that. So in the end you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I've actually got 6 this time. So if I flip it round that way, how many have I got? Let's just see. Ooh. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you want to have it with the 5 as your inside. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew along. So you can see there's a line there. We're going to sew along that line turn it over, sew along the next line, turn it over and sew along, but we don't want to sew it to each other, we want to do it separately. So if I got my sewing machine out, and I'll do that and then explain it to you perhaps a little bit better. So hang on while I just go and sew those up and come back to you. Speak to you in a sec. Okay, so I'm back. So all I've gone and done is keep my pleats together, run the sewing machine down across there. As you see, I'm not particularly straight, but just run your sewing machine around there, fold that over, and then get the next one out. Run your machine stitch down that one, fold that one round like so, bring this one and run your sewing machine down there again. Do the same with the next one, run your sewing machine along there, and then with the last one you do exactly the same. So you're going to run it just along there, and then that keeps your 5 pleats or your hills and valleys nice and neat, or as nice and neat as you can. The next thing we want to do is we're going to just take them and we're going to trim off the corners. Now the reason we're going to do this is because when we put the other pieces of material in, we don't want it to be bulky. So we're just going to just trim those off just a little bit on each one of those. Not too much, just a little tiny snip, just so it doesn't bulk out too much. Just like so. There we go. I do hope I'm explaining this to you in a way that you can understand. Oh, there we go, 2 more to do. Okay. These probably aren't the best scissors in the world for cutting material. There we go. And then the last pleat there. Just going to trim off. And I think the hardest thing really is to try and keep the material straight. So now there we've got the inside of your book, and that's going to be your hidden connection to your signatures. Now then, what we're going to do then is just fold the book over like so, and you can see the spine there now, and you will notice that you've got a little bit of excess material here on this one. So all we're going to do now is just trim that down so it's straight. And the reason I've left a little bit extra is just in case your material isn't quite as straight as you want to and you need to trim it, you've got that little bit of extra. So what we're going to do at the moment is just put that one on one side, like so. Just move that there. Now that we've got the inside signatures, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So before we can go anywhere else, what we need to do is we need to decorate these. So all you're going to do is just run your finger along the edge there so we know where the centre is. Open it out and then we can decorate it. So there's our line just down there, and we're going to decorate it, so which is what I've done with this one. So my line's there and I've decorated both sides, and then what I've gone and done is I've gone and closed them off together like that, and I want to make a pocket. So I've sewn from that edge there, not to the very, very centre. I've left it about 1/2 inch, and I've just sewn along there, down, and then, whoops, and then across. and that's given me a pocket like that. Okay, now the most important thing is to decorate before you get to this stage, because if you want to sew you can. It gives you much more flexibility, and then obviously if you want to put some texture paste on or you want to glue something down, you can. But once you've sewn it and you've got your pockets, the next stage is quite easy. You just get your book, you open it out, and you get your first pleat. And the reason that we've left this open here is so you can slot your pleat in like so. Just like that. So if you turn it over, you can see where that goes to that side. And we want to make sure it's as to the edge as we can. So I'm just going to put that there like that, that there like that, that there like that. And just straighten it off if we can, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a peg, and I'm going to secure that there, that side, and I'm going to get another peg and I'm going to secure it on this side, just like so. So then we've got a book that comes down. Okay, and now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch down there to attach that onto my spine. Okay, right, so see you again in a second. Okay, so I've actually gone and sewn now the signature into the book. Just can't get hold of that piece of thread there, there we go. There we go. So you can see I've started from there, come down, right the way down and to there. Now at this stage, what I tend to do, is to make sure that I get it right, is on each of these I'm just going to draw a little arrow, which will be my reminder of how to put the next signature in the correct way. Because it's far easier to do this than it is to try and unpick the one that you've made a mistake on. So next you would get, so if you've got to use your imagination now, I've decorated both sides, I put it down together like that, just like that, reminding yourself that we've only sewn to the very edge there, that clicks in and that one goes in there like that, and then we do the same with all 5. Okay, I can't ask any questions because you can't answer me really. So that's now got all the signatures in except for the outside. Now the outside ones we're going to decorate exactly the same as we did for the internal signatures, but this time we're going to want to leave an edge. Now as I've got this here now, looking at it, I've got too big a flap here. Now I don't mind having about 1/4 of an inch extra sort of going along there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim that down just so it's easier for me to work with, because at the moment I think that's just too big. So I'm just going to trim those down, just so I've just got an overhang of about 1/4 of an inch, like so. That one's not quite straight, is it? So it's just trim that down like that. Okay, let me get rid of that. So your next piece is going to be your front one. And I know that we've got a gap between there and there, which I'm quite happy with. So once I've decorated it, like I have on this one here, I'm going to sew it on to the front, and I've got that gap there. And this is where your little tiny piece that's 2 inches wide comes in. So you flip it over, decide which side you want it to be. I quite like that side actually. So just like that, we're just going to mark it down roughly, like so. And then once that's decorated, just like that one's been decorated, we're going to glue this down, and that's going to become like that on the other edge, and that's going to be the spine of your book. And once you've got it down there, you can then trim it off. So there's no need to sew it, we're just going to glue it, just like so. So you've got a spine there, and then you're not going to see any sewing other than what you want to see. And basically that's your book, because you're going to do exactly the same at the back. You're going to put your piece of decorated material, collage material, and then you're just going to glue down your spine, and then you're just going to trim off any excess. And the reason why I've told you to do it a little bit longer is so that you have got that flexibility. So if your book suddenly becomes a little bit longer or a little bit shorter, you've got the flexibility of trimming that down to the size that you want. Now with this one, I've done exactly the same on the inside, but I haven't left as much of a gap at the edge there. So again, you can just play around with the sizing that you want, and the same with that back piece there. And you just trim it down. And there you have your little book. Quite nice to actually do, and you can play around with it. And hopefully you'll have some fun making it. But as I say, the secret really is to make sure that your book is straight when you're actually making your folds or your pleats. And you can't really put them in until you've decorated. I think you decorate first, and then, as I say, you just slot in each one as you need. And that way it gives your book some substance. If you want to, there's no reason at all why you can't pad your material out if you want to make it feel a bit more softer or a bit chunkier. I personally don't think it needs it, if I'm honest. And I would recommend that you get your iron out and you press each one to get out the creases, unless you're quite happy with having it's much more organic looking. But as I say, it does help to have the arrow pointing up, so you're not going to put something in that's upside down, because I've made that mistake. So as much as I've made other mistakes as well, but hey ho. And I would love to see some of the work that you managed to do. Now I've gone and used some of the Tim Holtz collage, which I really do like, the Ideal collage papers. You get loads of it, and there's some really nice images to go on the plain looking one. And then again, it's just a case of building it up to how you like it. If you want to do a floral one, brilliant, or an insect one, well, the world's your oyster. So thank you for watching. Do hope that you've enjoyed it and you understand. Please ask any questions if you're not really sure, and I'm quite happy to answer your questions. And my book will be up for sale in my Etsy shop. And thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We'd love to have you on board. And don't forget to hit the little bell icon, because that reminds you of when I've got my next YouTube video on. And thanks again for watching. Speak to you soon. Thanks. Bye.